Whenever I have the opportunity to speak about cheese, I always say the takeaway is cheese is near perfect food. It's easiest for people to understand if they understand that theory, if they remember what their first food was, which was milk. Mammalian milks are all very similar. The relative composition of the nutrients is different, but they're pretty much all there in all mammals' milk. Some are highly deficient in one particular nutrient. But then it's also not just what's in the milk, but it's also what is in the cheese, of course, because it's what we're speaking about primarily. And it's not exactly the same thing. And it's partly because of the action of the native cultures that enter into the milk on the way into the vat, or in the vat. And then the influence of the various rennets and starter cultures were present, and adjunct cultures, and also the influences of the curing rooms, additional qualities, and some of them nutritionally beneficial qualities, perhaps minute amounts, but it all adds up. So I just like to point to milk and cheese especially being a near perfect food. And so one thing that makes cheese perfecter than milk is that it is lactose free. Some wet young cheeses have a little bit more, but most of it's lost by the time a cheese is a week old. And so some of the concerns that I hear about cheese, and Babs has spoken about this quite a bit, and that is this fear of fat. And so we have to derive our calories to function from something, and if we don't get them from fat, we can get them from carbohydrates, we can get them from proteins, and it should be in a pretty good balance. And that's one thing that cheese offers, a balance between not the carbs so much, but the proteins and the fats. And we also have this misunderstanding. We think that if it goes in our mouth as fat, that means it's going to remain as fat and end up around our waistlines. But as I often say, our bodies have grand designs for the foods we eat, and the metabolism of fat starts to occur as soon as it hits our tongues. And this occurs to the point that it does yield some beneficial fatty acids. And so these are kind of like the building blocks, so to speak, of fats. And some of these are very valuable, like the omega-3s, the conjugated linoleic acid. And we think of protein as being the number one nutrient that we need, but we also need fats. It's all in balance. And when you upset the balance in the makeup of the milk, and there's some for good reason to give a cheese a particular flavor or aroma or a texture, they might, and it's just part of the cheese making process. But fat is cool, and as Babs has spoken about, we do have these satiety little signals that are sent up by introducing protein and fat-rich foods that tell us that we're good. We don't have to keep eating. One of the reasons why it's good to have cheese before a meal, because you don't feel like you have to eat as much. But then it can also work very well at the end of the meal when we did eat too much because we didn't have enough cheese or any cheese before our meal. At the end of the meal, then that will help. The enzymes in cheese can help metabolize the foods we eat. So we get easier, expedited bioavailability of the proteins, their breakdown into amino acids, and then also from the fats into their fatty acids. And so before a meal, after a meal, or it can be the meal. Even within our industry, there's a concern. I hear this here at this conference that people are saying, oh, look at this is what you call, this is a cheese belly, and they're talking to their bellies. And I'm saying, no, that came from those beers that you had. or from that wine that you had too much of. So I hope that as this cheese waves continue to grow, not just here in the United States, but around the globe, that we'll take a second look at it, and we will also question some of the pronouncements, sometimes in mainstream media, that suggest that cheese is a serious concern for health and safety. Cheese does enjoy a stellar track record for food safety. It's a fermented food. That reduced pH level, which is one of the qualities that a good tasting cheese will have, helps to thwart contamination, or helps to reduce the opportunities for pathogens that the cheese may interface to move in and set up camp and become virulent. Also, a little bit of salt in some cheeses is also a great preservative. But we hope that as the knowledge base grows in our industry, that some of this information will be disseminated to consumers, and partly through certified cheese professionals, but also through anyone that's working in the cheese business, importers, distributors, retailers, cheese makers, that the more information we know about cheese, especially regarding its nutritional value, its relative safety, I think that we'll be able to inform the public a little bit better, and this cheese wave will continue to blossom. It's not perfect, but it's near perfect. There's also, one of the hot topics today is probiotics, and this is one thing that raw milk cheese has in abundance, especially some of the younger ones. There are probiotics in aged cheeses too, but the unpasteurized cheeses are marvelous, and because of the diversity of not all good, but a nice balance between good and bad microbes. And if we don't upset that balance through heat treatment and not try to kill it, then we might do a little bit better with some of the probiotics that cheese itself can offer. If it's a cheese that's made with pasteurized milk and probiotics are added to it, there's a place for that too. Because there's still a lot of fear about raw milk cheese. It's not the milk that is dangerous, that is unhealthy, that is unsanitary. It's not that. It's the post-production potential contamination is where the problems arise, because a bad bug knows a great food source when it sees it. And so I want our industry and certified cheese professionals and our readers to be able to recognize that cheese has had a bad rap for a long time, and it's time to set the record straight.